to another session of the Entourage Hour. I'm your host, Damon, and joining me is First Lady of E&E, my lovely co-host, Asia.
First Lady.
That's right. Every week we bring you a local broadcast that showcases local talent, as well as discussing relevant issues to our community and the nation as a whole. All right, Mama, let me know what's on the list for tonight.
All right, tonight we've got several things going on here on the Entourage Hour, and first and foremost, I want to always thank my listeners everywhere in the world that are listening. Thank you for tuning in once again to this show, and we promise you we're going to have a good one tonight. We got a great topic that, it's a hot topic that's going on in communities all across this nation and probably all across the world right now.
Everybody's watching.
In light of recent events in this country. So I want to thank all of you all for tuning in tonight. So tonight, what we're going to get into, we have a couple things going on. We have a young lady here, Miss Amanee Lene.
Return guest?
A return guest, and we're having her back. So we had a little glitch with our last episode, so we're going to redo this one and give her, time to shine, because she's an amazing young lady that's doing great things in the community.
Love to see young people doing
and
things.
Yeah, we love to see young people doing things like that, so we want to give her some shine tonight. And then we've got some artists coming through that are also going to be joining the panel. And then we've got our Entourage Entertainment discussion panel guest this week, Mr. Owens, joining us tonight. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on the Entourage Hour. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
All right. So, Miss Amanee, I want you to go ahead and tell our listeners who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, what you represent.
And why you doing it?
My name is Amanee Lene. I have a dance academy called Savoir Faire of the Arts. It means social grace. Basically, the academy is to hit urban communities where children are less fortunate. They can't really afford or have the resources for the arts.
Right.
And my goal is to bring the arts to them so that they're able to experience the arts like everybody else.
Exactly.
Did you come about this from all the cuts and everything that was happening to inner city schools from arts and, extracurricular activities, or what made you come up about with this idea that, I got to give something, but I need to give these kids something to do and give them exposure?
It's always been a goal of mine to open my own arts academy.
Okay.
I've been dancing since I was 6 years old. So it's always been a goal of mine. But when I did start seeing that arts programs were being cut off, and then when you see how children respond differently when they're in activities and
Absolutely.
when they aren't, I felt like it was a need to start.
You found a need
and
to
open it
fill.
up at 25.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell us more about the organization.
Basically, it's not only a
There it is right there.
dance academy, it's also a mentoring, a mentorship. So while
That sounds important.
While
Yeah.
you are with the academy, you are also mentoring. We are also mentoring the kids to become leaders.
Right.
So even if you don't want to do dance at all professionally, you'll still have the background of discipline. You'll
Right.
still have that curriculum of where you are a leader and you know where you can go. So
I like the motto, actually,
Yeah.
that you had on your website that said, "We produce dreamers and future leaders through movement." I just thought that was really
I love that too.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
was just
amazing.
really
It's
inspirational.
on point.
You know
It
what
is.
I mean?
I
And
do.
definitely the children, the youth, you know what I mean, they need an outlet. And they're not exposed to so much of the arts in general, all of the arts, musical, dance, theater, things like that.
Absolutely.
Schools funding and with the cuts with that, they're not exposed to a lot of that now. So, what
it's
type
important.
of style? What type of styles of dance? We saw the little flyer up earlier that exposed that.
We offer contemporary, jazz, ballet, lyrical, and also liturgical, and then we also do modern.
Okay. Okay, what is liturgical?
Liturgical is church-based, so if anybody's been in church...
Was just jumping around, flipping and stuff
It's
like that?
not jumping around, but it's more of a spiritual base. So
Okay.
it's basically like you're ministering through dance to different people.
Okay.
So how people do poetry or how people sing,
Understand
you're
that.
ministering through through movement.
Would you
dance.
consider that like praise dancing?
It is praise dance.
Okay.
Okay, all right. I think the most interesting aspect of what you're doing, I think, is the one that's going to have the greater impact, in my opinion, is the mentorship and the exposure, like you said, to all these other cultures and other ways. I think one thing that keeps our youth so feeling of hopelessness and aimless, they have seen nothing else. All they see is their plight. All they see is day in, day out, this is what I am, this is what I have, this is what I
They have
live.
nothing to do, and I feel like if they had something to do, it would keep them off of the streets. It would keep them from rebelling, just how
Statistically, it's been proven. There's been studies about this. I mean, we know that that's the truth. If they have options, they will exhaust those options.
Right.
It's been proven.
Yeah. So I feel like it's very important. I feel like it's important to give back. So not only are the students learning something, the ages are from 5 to 18. So once they graduate from the
ages.
academy,
Yeah.
they can come back and they can intern or they can teach to give back to the kids where they came from.
How are the class structures set up, like for parents that are interested in getting their children involved?
The class structure is set up where we separate it. So I have an inner city program for the inner city kids, and then I also have academy children who are coming from outside of the city. We
and
basically
those who can pay for it and those who don't have the means, the financial means. To pay
they'll
for it.
all be in the same class learning the same thing.
That's beautiful.
They'll all be able to be a part of the recitals. They'll all be able to have our dance sleepovers, everything that we'll do to interact with them. They'll basically learn vocabulary of the arts. So if they're taking ballet, they'll learn the ballet vocabulary. If they're taking modern, they'll learn the modern vocabulary. They'll know the forms and positions of the dancing. So they'll have not only the movements, but they'll also have a knowledge of what they're doing.
Sometimes the vernacular can help too because it, enhance your vocabulary.
And it's very important because when you're dancing, you want to know what you're doing, and you want to know exactly what this means. If I say go to first or fifth position, you want to know why. If I'm saying do a jetta, you want to know why you're doing that. What does that mean? Where did it originate from? So they're going to learn all of that stuff.
That is amazing.
Do you have other instructors helping you, or are you running?
I have interns.
Okay.
Interns are basically, they are already in the arts program at school, or they have been dancing for at least 5 years. And they'll be participating and helping with the children. You can get community service hours through the academy with me. So if you're interning and you're already in school,
that's amazing.
You get hours for your school.
That's amazing. Yeah.
All right. So with your launch party, exactly, there we go. We got a launch party.
That's the meet and greet.
Is that? Oh, that's April 4th. Okay.
Yeah, that's the meet and greet.
We have the launch party coming up tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, right?
It's another flyer for that.
Yeah, May 2nd. I didn't even see that. We have the actual launch party for the Academy that's coming up tomorrow, May 2nd. So can you go ahead and tell the listeners a little bit about the launch?
Yes, I'm so excited because we had to reschedule it originally, and it was piping issues with the building. We're not having it in the actual dance studio because you can't have food and stuff on that floor. It's a specific floor. You can't do a lot. But we are having it at the Patsy Hartsfield Center on Maryland Ave, which I wanted it to be accessible for the neighborhood kids because I didn't want it to be hard for them to get to where we were.
Absolutely.
So we're having it right in the center, which is in the center of that community. There it goes. We're having it right in the center, where it's in the center of that community. It's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. We have a DJ coming out. We have a face painter. We have candy tables. We have games. It's going to be a party.
Free event.
It's free, and it's going to be a party. You can come and also register your kids. Again, we take ages.
Everybody, go check it out.
5 to 18.
Go check it out.
And I do take 3 and 4-year-olds who are potty trained.
We have to support.
That's important.
Our young people. Please go check this out.
Please check this out.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank you, Miss Amanee, for coming out once again to the show.
Thank
you
and
so
we
much.
look forward to the launch tomorrow.
Thank you.
And we wish you much success in everything that you're doing.
Thank
so
you.
I just want everybody to just
I'm humble.
take the time and just give her a hand. Thank you for having this young lady out again.
Welcome back again. Come back again too. Let us know your progress, what's going on, everything. We want to know.
Of course, I want to see y'all there.
Definitely.
My goal is to be there myself. I know she'll be there, but my goal is to be there too.
Great.
So, Miss Amanee, we're gonna go ahead and get into our topic tonight. And what if you're wanted to join in with us, we'd love to have you on the panel. This week, like we said earlier, in light of recent events, the unrest that's going on in this country in particular, we just wanted to kind of shed some light on things that are going on in the country and just kind of give our opinions, of what's going on based on fact,
based on
media, and things of that nature.
All right.
So, without further ado,
all right,
Mr. Damon.
I'll lead us into this. All right, as most of you probably know, our listeners and viewers, there has been a bit of civil unrest in Baltimore, west side of Baltimore. Now, this situation is not something that's an isolated incident. It is basically the story of about 1,000 other cities across America that go through the same thing. This is just the one that hit the precipice, right after the situation in Ferguson. So, if our topic tonight is a relationship with police in the communities,
Law enforcement.
After looking at the data and really, how I am. I like to look at everything in aggregate and then make an informed decision. after looking at all the data, I'm less convinced that it's really about law enforcement than the actual structure itself. I think that the system I'm sorry, the numbers are there. Since Nixon, hasn't changed much. It really hasn't. Nixon put a situation in place where it was kind of like a second Jim Crow, where they would create laws and barriers to success for black people through policing. Now, we have gotten better over time. I mean, that was 50 years ago, right? Nearly 50 years ago. And we have gotten better over time, but not much. All right. Welcome. Finally. That's right.
We're going to have a little interruption here for a second.
Glad to have him here.
We have our
Yes,
other
sir.
return guest back.
Second returning guest. He is here.
He finally made it here again.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you, Tone Butta, for joining us again tonight.
Let's go right into
everyone.
this young man right here,
We
please.
want to thank this guest. He was on the same night when we had the glitch the first time. So we want to thank him for coming out once again to the Entourage Hour here on WLVS.
Most definitely.
And what we want to go ahead and do is what we were talking about tonight was basically the relationship between law enforcement and the community in light of recent events with everything that's going on in the media, and in this country. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and discuss the topic a little bit more, and then we want to get your opinion and have you on the panel, and then we want to talk about some things that you're working on as well.
Okay.
All right, so go ahead.
All right. So, like I said, this institution has been in play for quite a bit now. We're talking about how the police system has been the new Jim Crow or whatever since about the 60s.
Right.
And what you see is, you know how you see everybody, you see these posts and everyone, you'll have conversations with people, well, not all cops are bad. No, first off, I personally find that insulting. Now, I'll tell you why. For you to tell me that not all police are bad, it's almost as if you're insinuating that I can't tell who is hurting me and who is not hurting me. I know not everybody is bad. I know, just like you see, black people riding, not all black people ride. You see a black person robbed, not all black. I get that. That type of generalization is meaningless, in my opinion. But I do think there's some truth to the underlying message of it. The police in this country, I'm not really sure, just looking at the statistical data, that it's all them doing racist practices or continuing the norm that they've known. I mean, you come in there into a city, you take a job, you're a rookie, you get there. If your search and seizure policies are a certain way, your mandatory sentences are a certain way, all the discretion is removed from the police. You have to go in there, it's about numbers. You go in there, you herd people up as much as you can to feed the prison industrial complex. So, he's
gonna get deep on y'all tonight.
I apologize. I'm not trying to.
He's gonna get deep.
So my question, I want to start the dialogue with the panel is do you think that body cams can fix the problem? I'm saying body cams that are controlled, like they're not something that you can just turn off or turn on. Will body cams fix the issue? Let me just go around the room, please.
Go ahead.
Well, I think they should fix the problem, but
Want 'em to.
in recent cases, it doesn't look like that's the thing, because even with the Ergana situation,
Perfect
you know
example,
what I'm
sir.
saying?
Yep.
So, I think that they were placed there to fix the problem, but it's like if you're going to go against the purpose for it, it serves no purpose at all. It's in vain.
It is. I absolutely agree. Brother Owens, please. No. Okay. Well, I feel that the body camera, it will limit some abuses, because if you're on camera, obviously you're going to be,
I agree.
You're going to, be more cautious of what you say, what you do, because the world is watching, obviously. But that won't help. Let's look at the case in Baltimore, okay? Those 5 officers or 6 officers were charged, okay? 5 of them in jail. A lot of people are excited, and I'm happy that, the pathway for justice has started, but people don't realize that's just but one small step. You have to get a conviction.
Right.
Indicting these officers is meaningless if all of them are found guilty. All of them are found innocent.
The lack of transparency is what pretty much set everything off, because of the fact that at that moment we did not see, as the public or whoever was around, witnesses to what was going on at the moment, didn't see what happened to this young man once he entered the vehicle.
Into the van, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So the lack of transparency is the problem, and then it's not any better when you have your own nation's capital mayor who actually wants to not make the public have access to the body cams of the police. I'm like, you are the mayor of DC pretty
Right.
much, like what's up
Right.
with that? Like we already have so much hostility in the community between the community and law enforcement, and by doing that, it's like you have some wall of secrecy up. Like what do you have to hide? Like what's going on in that department?
I totally think
so.
You're
I think
right.
it's necessary,
Absolutely.
but you have to have that transparency between law enforcement and the public.
I totally think you're right. Absolutely, because the whole problem with the Michael Brown case came about with the riot and everything started because nothing was said to the public.
Mm-hmm.
No one said anything, and then you have, and like I said,
on top of corrupt police department.
Right, you say not
that.
all cops are bad or what, and that's all fine and fair, but the good ones are covering for the bad ones. Mm-hmm. That is happening. You look at the situation in Baltimore here. I don't know if anyone noticed, but they released a press release of the Washington Post insinuating that this man somehow broke his own neck. Oh yeah, that was them putting out feelers trying to assuage the public. In the back of Paddy Wagon, they said they had eyewitness reports that this man tried to injure himself. It was the same slur campaign done against Michael Brown, where you try to demonize the individual who is in custody, therefore alleviating some of the responsibility of those who were meant to take care of him. And that's not something that happened. See, when you say that, it's a few bad cops, you're basically saying this is a bottom-up type of problem, right? You're saying, well, the system works. It's just a bad egg here and a bad egg there.
What message does it send to the public? And when you have a situation like the town in the Midwest where the first black mayor, got elected and all the cops resigned from the police department.
Instantly, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I mean, what message does that send to the public? You know what I mean? Like, they going to all resign because of the fact that the first black female mayor at that, you know what I mean, got elected? Like, what was up with that? So.
And you constantly hear the talk of, this isn't about race. That is like the main focal point. And from majority, my white friends and family, this isn't about race. This isn't about race. Someone's going to explain to me when it stopped being about race. Like, when do we come to the point where it stopped being about race? When do we hit that plateau where race was not really a factor in most of these things anymore? Because the numbers don't lie.
I just believe that the race thing, as further as we got in society, I believe the race thing, it was hard for them to do because we grew stronger even with our mouthpiece, with just being outspoken as people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think it turned more into not skin color, but the have and the have-nots.
Absolutely.
And I really believe that's the thing that it is right now, the have and the have-nots.
Yes, sir.
And I think our people are actually searching for something that's actually there. I believe that the system was actually built for our demise.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And people are constantly searching for a just system. And it was always built to be unjust. You know what I mean? And that's just my perspective.
Go ahead.
Well said, sir.
Go ahead.
I agree with you 100%. Although the system may have started out with pure racial intentions to keep a certain demographic down, keep them stupid, and keep them basically herded where you wanted them herded.
Breaking up the home.
Right, breaking up the home and all that. I believe exactly what you said. This has evolved beyond that. This is more about the haves and the have-nots.
Exactly.
It's about the prison industrial complex, which basically makes money off incarcerating the citizens. So, all right, America is beautiful. I love America. Mm-hmm. Capitalism is the way to go. You've heard me say that many times. I think it trumps every other form of government. The problem is you cannot apply capitalism to every aspect of society.
Right.
Your prison system. You cannot make a for-profit system that incarcerates people in a capitalist society. It won't work. Right. It's always in someone's interest to lock people up, regardless of their color. Black people are just easy targets at the particular time. But I mean, who knows?
That's racial profiling, though. You know what I mean? It's a strategic form of genocide in a sense.
I agree.
Incarcerate all of our men.
I agree.
Then you demasculate them while they're in prison because everyone knows what's going on in prison.
Right.
They get out if they're lucky enough to get back out and come into society. Then they have to be reformed to be able to adapt to society. And the ones that can't,
because prison doesn't reform anybody.
Yeah.
Let's
then
be
they
honest.
become repeat offenders and keep going back.
It doesn't reform anybody. If you're not a criminal and you go to prison, you're coming out.
It's a form of genocide because you're cutting off our generations. You know what I mean?
And then you hear everything from the parents, it's the parents, the lack of parents, if they had, 2 family homes, if all these black men didn't abandon their kids, the black men in jail.
Yeah.
All of them in jail. The majority of them.
That's why we have to educate. I mean, I was raised by a single
That's
mother, and it didn't deter me from achieving anything. But I was in a different environment. So if we that were in that different environment give back
Exactly.
and teach and educate, then a lot of this wouldn't happen. We have to educate. We have to educate people. We have to educate children. We have to be there for them so that they can make a change. So that they're not getting locked up. So that they're not being profiled or experiencing this genocide. We have to.
They don't succumb to peer pressure as easily either.
No, because you
know
have
what I
you
mean?
have a structure. You have something that's behind you. So a lot of us that are angry. I mean, I feel the anger because I'm in this generation, so I understand. But we have to give back and we have to do something about it. So instead of pointing fingers of, this is this and that, we need to just think of something to do where we can give back. That's why I started the academy, or that's why you're doing what you're doing for the youth, or that's why you all are doing your radio show so that you can give. We all have to do it collectively together to give back.
While
Absolutely
I
agree.
That wholeheartedly, I will say this. I feel as though America is basically a neighborhood. I like to make an analogy. America is basically a neighborhood. Each race or demographic is, a particular neighbor. Whites, blacks, yellows, whatever. And what you have in our neighborhood right now is portions of certain homes are basically underdeveloped. They need help. Like you said, we got to do things, positive things. We got to move forward. We got to build ourselves up.
We have to act.
We have to act. We have to do things. But there's a deeper problem here because in this neighborhood, my house gets set on fire at least once a week, every week. And then when I complain about the house being set on fire because it's stagnating progress, because every time I try to do something, I got to take a couple steps back to put out this fire, then repair, and move forward from there. You have a whole swaths of society, or many of our neighbors, we look to them, they say, no, I didn't see that happen. You just need to work harder. Nothing happened. Nobody burned your house down. You just need to work harder. So the denial of what's actually happened, and
like
we
Bill
know what's
O'Reilly.
happened. Thank you, Hannity, or O'Reilly. The denial of these injustices happen is actually, I think, a bigger problem than even not having anything to do. Because what you wind up having is the Baltimore kids, for example. They had a sense of hopelessness. And you go, well, I thought Ray Lewis' message was perfect. We understand you. But you have to look at it from the perspective of a child.
They're angry.
They're mad. They are teenagers.
And have you heard their
no
interviews?
Hope. Yes.
Their interviews is basically what I heard is nobody cares. They have nothing to do.
Yep.
And they feel like they're not gaining anything from school, from anybody.
Nothing.
So then you have to raise, like I say, I'm so big on the youth. I actually wrote the mayor and I also wrote the governor.
Okay.
In regards to doing something, and I have a meeting with the governor's office.
Good.
In
I
some
like to
weeks
hear that.
because they don't have any programs.
Absolutely.
So they have to. My thing is, okay, we know we're angry. We got that.
Right.
We're all angry because
Absolutely.
we're all seeing it. We're all experiencing it. I might one day have a son. I don't want this to happen to my child.
I have
So
two.
what do? I do something about it now so
Right.
that we can stop it.
Right.
So yes, I did write them because I wanted to make sure that, okay, do I need to instill an arts program here, or do we need to put a mentoring program here,
Right.
or do we need to get more men here to talk
Right.
to our boys so that they
Right.
can become men?
What
You have
is
to
the
act
hole that
on
needs
it.
to be filled?
Yeah,
Right.
we say a
Absolutely.
lot of stuff and it means well, but we have to start acting more on
Doing
what we're
stuff.
going to do.
I absolutely
That is
agree.
awesome.
And I want to
Naturally.
piggyback off of what she said. Us acting on it is like actually the most essential thing that can ever happen to this country, period. I believe, and I'm going to just be, I'm going to shoot straight from the hip. I believe that I'm not knocking the fact that we are, this is an unjust world that we're living in, period. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Nothing's fair, you know what I'm saying? But you just got to make the best of whatever comes at you.
Absolutely.
But I believe in our society, we are lazy. We
Yeah.
are spoiled. We complain too much
Yeah.
about things that happen to us instead of building and acting on it. You know what I mean? Because you have people over here in these third world countries where they're being shot. They come through their villages, killing their people, raping their women.
Yeah.
We don't go through none of that
No.
as
Taking their
people.
girls.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't go
Absolutely.
through none of that. But
Absolutely.
yet we're the main ones complaining. And that's why a lot of third world countries, they don't like us because they say United States, y'all spoil you. You know what I'm saying?
There's a degree. I agree that there's certainly a degree to that, but I think the bigger issue with other countries, in respect to the United States, is the way, like Martin Luther King. I saw an interesting article from him, and he was saying how we had to change our values. We needed to, in America, we need to readdress our value system. Now, some people would say, that it may have started at church, it may start here, it may start at home. At the end of the day, the heart of his message, what I'm saying now, or what I feel the heart of his message is, we have to decide what is right and what is wrong in the country. Now, the reason why we have so many people that hate America is because we take the same policies and practices that we do here, and we take them abroad. Look at Abu Ghraib. Look at the other one in Afghanistan. We go places, and we have this mentality of policing
Being
those
bullies.
who we feel like who are not doing anything to keep them away from the people who are productive. And we'll lock them up. You don't have to see them. You have to think about them. They're here. They're locked away. We keep them there without any type of. It doesn't matter if it was just cause or whatnot. We do that enough. I mean, because that's what really.
That's the Monroe Doctrine, though. That's historical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Please share, Ms. Owens. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would like to share. I wear two hats.
Right.
I currently work in law enforcement,
Right.
and I myself have been a victim of police brutality.
Absolutely.
I'm just coming off a lawsuit with a particular city, I can't name their name,
Right.
in which the particular officer came on my job
Right.
and locked me up. And
Right.
We got a verdict of a brief detention. The city awarded me some finances. And I start off from a different angle, and I know you said that we have to let the people know that all police are not bad, because
Right.
I sympathize and I empathize with the people, because myself too was in that particular
Right.
situation, so I know what those emotions feel like.
Right.
That the very people that were supposed to protect you
Right.
have now violated you.
Right.
You shared with me, we talked about it many a times. Life is about percentages.
It is.
There's
Absolutely.
nothing 100%.
No.
Everything needs to be reformed, whether it be health care, and now we're seeing that our judicial system needs to be reformed.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm of the mindset that it all starts with human responsibility. We can't fix what the dominant culture is doing. It starts with us.
Fix
Now,
ourselves first. you're saying.
fix ourselves first, and that old adage is true that it takes a village to raise a
really
child.
does.
Right.
So it takes the community of whether it be the church, nonprofits,
Right.
the education systems, everyone coming together as one,
Right.
and striving for equality.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a
I like that.
mentality.
It is.
Yeah.
I do.
I agree.
And I'd like I said, I think the issue is not so much about demonizing individual police. It's not about the Darren Wilson thing with Mike Brown. I don't know that Darren Wilson was a racist. I don't know that. I don't know him. We don't have any evidence to prove it. He was removed from a precinct that was shut down for racist practices. But who knows what you know about that particular man? We don't know. What I do know is that he stopped Mike Brown just for walking down the street, and that was unlawful. So, like I said, this is not an issue
Racial
from the
profiling.
bottom to the top. This is from the top to the bottom. We have to fix the issues with our laws. We have to fix our
We have to
judicial
change people's
system.
thought processes, period.
Exactly.
You start to
I don't
mind,
think you can
know.
change hearts and minds until
if you start them
at
while they're
least
young,
change
It
the
get them
laws.
while they're young.
How do we go
And
about
break
doing
that
it?
cycle.
Look at
I mean, you have to break the cycle.
Look at slavery. The North did not want to stop slavery. Everybody had this misconception about slavery.
They only did it to keep them from seceding from the Union.
They did that to stop the secession from the Union. The North wasn't against slavery. They didn't think that the treatment of black people was particularly fair, but they weren't anti-slavery where we can't have slavery or whatnot.
They wanted to
They just
stick it
wanted
to
to
'em
stay
in
within the
pockets.
Union.
Yeah.
Right. They wanted the protection of the government. So the South was making far too much money to stop that. Okay? So the hearts and minds of the people at the time, even though this got done, slavery was abolished during that time period, the hearts and minds of the people were still, slavery is still a good thing. Voting rights was the same way. The federal government superseded the state's unconstitutional laws. The hearts and minds of most of the population at the time was that blacks should not be entitled to vote at all. So I don't really believe that we can change hearts and minds until we change the laws. The laws, because racism was made illegal. Did that change hearts and minds? Or were the hearts and minds changed, with people less? No, they
Well,
weren't.
you're not going to change everybody.
You can't.
True.
That's one
But
thing.
what you can do is make things illegal so that you cannot do these, these horrible things to people.
I
Well-
feel like even if you did change laws, people are still going to be people.
Yes.
There's nothing you can do to
Yes.
change how
People
people
abuse
feel or what they're going to do. The only thing you can do is somehow with whatever you have or whatever your purpose is to shed that light on other people so that it reaches more people.
Absolutely.
We can't change if I don't like something
You're not
and
gonna
I don't like it.
Right.
I don't like it.
Right.
You can't
Nothing
change that
nothing
that I don't like it. You know what
I
I'm saying?
will throw a caveat in that. If you don't like, say this is my cell phone, and you don't like my cell phone, you hate my cell phone, you hate the color of it, you can't stand how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
If it was legal for you to take my cell phone and break it because you didn't like it, that's acceptable. I mean, it is what it is. But if it's against the law, you have to obey the law. And although you don't like my cell phone, you have to respect that it's my cell phone.
Everybody doesn't obey the law.
I was gonna say
No, everybody does not obey the law, and I agree.
And
with
just
that
because
wholeheartedly.
they have laws doesn't mean that they're going to abide by
I
them.
absolutely
Because people
agree.
don't now. So that's
Absolutely
my
agree.
thing. We have to look past the whole thing of we have to change laws. We know that there's things that need to be changed. We know that there's things that shouldn't happen. We know that there's things that we don't agree with.
Right.
But it's never going to change how people react or how they do things. Only thing that we can change is how we do things and what we do to implant something into somebody else. We can't change, even if we did change the law and say, okay, you can walk across the street at this time, but you can't walk across at this time.
When I
There's
say
still going to
change-
be people that's going to walk across the street at
I
the
don't,
wrong
I don't
time.
think. I don't think. Like I said, I don't think I was clear in my. Because I'm not really necessarily saying. I don't really think that we need to, like, change like the law, the actual, the statutes that are on the books.
You want to make something lawful where people can't do it.
No, it's more so that we need to reformat the way our police function within our societies. The current relationship we have with our police is because of the way it functions within our societies. So
let's go back. What were police put here for?
That's the wrong.
Let's
Protect and
go
serve.
to the root. What were they put here for?
protect and serve.
To protect white people's plantations. That's
Yeah.
what police were put here for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They wasn't never
from
put
the
here.
looting.
Right.
Exactly. It wasn't put here to
Negroes.
police
Be
black
careful for the
people.
uprising. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's just so. I mean, I always go at things in the biblical text. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Sure,
And
absolutely.
this is a time where God said hearts will be wax cold. So
Okay.
out of everything that's happening now, it's nothing but prophecy. You know what I
Right.
mean? So no matter what we do, we're not going to be able to change God's word. So this is going to happen and things are going to get worse. But we can't change who we believe in. You feel what I'm
Let
saying?
me share
You
on
want to
that.
say something?
If we're going to use God's word, all authority is given by God.
Right.
And once again, I'll go back to my initial point. That man will abuse anything.
Right.
And like the young lady addressed, that we could only be responsible for us.
Right.
A lot of people may not say it explicitly, but we imply it that all police are bad. Like I said, I've been a victim of police brutality, but I also had good police that helped me out in life.
Right. I got family. But I know police.
So
right.
we can't match evil with evil
Right.
because people are going to do their part.
Right.
What we can do is, like you say, start human responsibility, educate ourselves, vote,
Right.
and do our part.
Right.
That's all we could do as people.
My whole thing, because this is kind of like this is a debate that I had. And I'm glad. But this is a debate that I had with so many friends and family, and I'm loving that we're having this now. This is kind of like the chicken or the egg type of thing. It really is. Do black people need to lift themselves up first before they can get some modicum of equality that allows them to have, forward mobility in a move? Because, I mean, the barriers for success for blacks, I mean, these are facts. I mean, we can say that, we need to change ourselves. At the end of the day, Baltimore, let's take that for example. That city had, 5% of its education funds cut every year for the past decade?
And that's why we have to do something. And
That's
that's
all
why
we
I
can
felt it very vital that I spoke with somebody there, because if I'm educated and I can bring something there, then I need to figure out why are these getting cut so much? What
Right.
can we do to save this? What can we do to bring arts back here? What can we do to bring something else here where it's not getting cut?
And like I said, that is, and I feel like that's very noble, and I think that is the way that you get at things. But I also feel until you address the elephant in the room, because like I said, you have the chicken or the egg. You can't really discuss about the chicken or the egg until you deal with the fox that lives in the hen house. And the fox that lives in the hen house is the racial system that's set up to keep people down. And it's not to say that, we can't move forward as a people and we can't do anything until we correct these obviously, blatant discrepancies or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's a lot harder to work on yourself and fix yourself and big up your community and fix your community when something has its foot on your neck. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very hard. It's not impossible. I don't think it's impossible. I'm not saying it is, but it's very hard. And what you wind up having are those who make it out, where they're the exception and not the rule. The vast majority of blacks, there are plenty of people who are able to make it out. They get an education for themselves. They make a life for themselves. My mother was one such. A single mother from Southeast Washington, D.C. She got a job. She got a college education. She raised me. She kept me out of trouble. She sent me away to military school so it would stop some of my foolishness. Send me to college. All these things that my mother did. And like I said, that is the exception. It's not really the rule. What you look at statistically, and how I say I live in statistics. Statistically across the country, most people are crushed under the burden of the legal system that keeps people stupid. It just ushers you into middle school. The minute you get out of hand or do anything that's untoward, just go ahead and pushes you right into the legal system and keeps you there.
I'll add on to it. It's the domino effect, and I'll agree with you on education, that schools are supported by property taxes. Yes. Now, if you're in a low-income neighborhood, you're going to have a poor education system. Though the exceptions to the rules, like this young lady, we need to go and give back and support our community so we can have better schools, better homes, and be the best that we could be in our community. So
and it takes more than one person.
Yes.
So of course I'm going and I'm bringing something to the community, but it takes more than me just bringing an arts program. You need everybody to do something in different areas to bring their different expertise.
And that's pretty much the unifying theme, that we just need the community, everyone to come together, band together, put aside our differences actually, and come together and celebrate our similarities,
Absolutely.
what I mean?
We're all humans.
With that being said, I want to thank our panel for coming out tonight. Our one return guest, Tone Butter.
That's right.
We got him here tonight because he got some music that we want to get into.
All right.
So without further ado, I want to just give a big round of applause to everybody
this
for coming out and joining us.
My God.
And I encourage y'all to sit through the interview and listen to what this young man has to say, because he's also out here in the community doing something. For my listeners at home, the song that we have playing in the background actually is by Tone Butter, and this is called "Reaching for the Stars." Right? What does it feel like? What does it feel like?
Yes,
My bad.
It's okay.
But anyway, Tone, I want you to go ahead and give our listeners a little quick bio about who you are, how you got into, your craft and what you're trying to do.
Well, I'm just a young black man, grew up in the urban areas in Washington, D.C. I grew up in Northeast, and, I struggled with the street life most of my life. I was ripping, running the streets, I dropped out of school in the 10th grade. I was just in the streets, you know what I'm saying? That's how I felt that was my only outlet, because of the environment that I grew up in. But, I found Christ as I got older, you know what I mean, like 3 years ago.
And how did you find Christ?
It was a seed that was sown in me when I was young.
Okay.
Even when I was in the streets, I always knew to pray to Jesus. I could be doing stupid stuff and still be praying.
Still pray to Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? So
did your parents instill this in you? I mean,
yeah. They taught me how to pray.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's the bad. I didn't grow up in church at all.
Right.
I went to church a few times, but
right.
not at all. But I was taught how to pray. You know what I'm saying? I was taught to look to God, look to Jesus when things get rough. And so every time I get into a bind, I was,
look to God.
That's all I knew to do, and it stuck with me. And I had a lot of people. I guess it was just God sending me people as I was getting older.
Right.
As time went by, that it was confirmation that my salvation was coming. You know what I mean? I used to run from it. I ran from it a long time, like Jonah did. I ran from it,
And what made you embrace it? I mean,
because as Jonah did when he ran, he ended up below the surface instead of above the surface where God wanted him to be. And that was my lifestyle. I ended up way below than where I was supposed to be. He brought me into a point in my life where he brought me to my knees. I had nobody to look to but him. I faced the spirit of death so many times, and he just let me know that it was only by his grace that it didn't consume me.
Right.
So I figured like I can't keep walking on thin ice
right.
before it just break on me and give in. I need to give my life to God. Plus, once you continue in that lifestyle and you see what it has to offer, you like, man, all right, I want to see this other side, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of getting arrested and jumped out on by police and the drugs and. I was like, man, I got to see what this other life is like, you know.
So what led you to getting into music then? Or at what point did you were you involved?
I think I've been music savvy since I came out the womb.
Okay.
I really do. You know, I always been rapping and into music since I was little. Oldies, that's me. People, they laugh at me. All my friends, they laugh at me. You know, I listen to oldies all day before I listen to rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's just growing up in my household.
Good music.
Oh, you know, I grew up with a big family, you know. And rapping, you know, rapping, it started in the streets, I can say. At school, banging on the desk, hanging out late at night around with the homies and all that, just freestyling and rapping. And it just grew on me, and it grew on me. And it's times that, you know, I was faced with an enemy. He tried to discourage me a lot of times where I was like, man, I ain't going to do this rap stuff. I even had a fear, I had stage fright, real bad. I couldn't, I never thought I was going to be able to be a rapper because I'm like, man, I can't.
Then like the
Stand
big
in front of,
crowd thing,
I can't do that. I'm like, I could rap in front of my friends and stuff like that, but
the strangers,
you know, but God let me know, man, your blessing is in the things that you fear. You know, you confront what you fear, and that's where your blessing's at. And once I confronted
that right now.
yeah, you know, and I hope somebody, you know, whoever listening right now who going through that, you know, that they can be encouraged and enlightened, man.
please do.
You know, confront your fears, man. You know what I mean? Sometimes, well, majority of the times, your blessings are dressed up as burdens just to see how bad you want it. You know what I mean? And
please say that one more time. No, that was really good. Please say that one more time.
your blessings are dressed up as burdens just to see how bad that you want it. You know?
Absolutely.
Because life wasn't meant to be easy.
No,
you know,
have to endure in order to move forward.
The Lord is our strength. You know, a lot of times we try to do things out of our own strength.
Exactly.
And that's why we fall on our face.
Fail miserably. So, Tone, with your music, so what's the significance of your name actually for the audience?
Tone Butta.
Yeah, how do we come up with Tone Butta?
Well, you know, my first name is Antonio. And, you know, I was in the street and my family, you know, they call me Tone.
The abbreviation of all our names.
Yeah, you know, they call me Tone or Tone. But when I went to Job Corps out in Pennsylvania for 2 years, I had a friend from New York. And, you know,
that's where that butter term came in. I know. Plain people from NY. Yeah, that's where that butter term came in.
You was smooth. I used to walk around the dorm with my robe on and come outside. And, you know, it's just like, man, you a smooth dude. You too smooth. I'm going to start calling you Tone Butta. And when he said it, it just clicked. I was like,
Tone Butta.
I like it. You know what I'm
name is born.
And I came back here with it, and everybody I just ran with it. You know?
All right. Well, for the listeners that actually want to look you up and want to see or hear some of your music, where can they find you on social media?
Well, you definitely could find me on Facebook, like I say all the time. Antonio Joseph Smith. On Twitter, at Tone Butta. Instagram, at Call Me Tone Butta. Tone Butta, ToneButta. I'm on Hootune.com. I'm on SoundCloud.com. ReverbNation.com. I'm on all the social media.
Just
so,
look for
you know what I'm saying? Just go to Google and put in Tone Butta. You see real business of Tone Butta.
Right there.
Real business.
Tone Butta.
You know, that's all me. You know, I'm here right now too with a few other artists that's with my real business family. You know, I got my producer right here.
Come on in, please.
Trey Status. I have my neo soul and R&B singer, Miss Mahara, and I also have another fellow artist, White Peter Prophet. That song, did you hear that song I just released?
Yes.
That's me and him on that song right here. You know. And we all actually go to the same church.
Okay.
Y'all all in the same church. So her too. You all on the same.
Exactly.
So how did y'all come together in that setting then?
Well, in church. Well, we already knew each other before that. Well, actually, me and him met.
Yeah, we met first.
It was a divine meeting, you know. Yeah. And so it was Mr. Amanee also. You know? It was a divine meeting. You know what I mean? But we already knew each other, you know, from outside the church. We knew each other from around the neighborhood. That's my man right here. You know, me and Miss Mahara, we met actually performing together, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you sing?
I do sing, yes.
You sing? Okay. And you all at the same church, and y'all, what? You guys decided we need to make music together.
Well, we
dance.
It's still entertainment. Right. It's still part of the
art. It's part of the art.
It's art.
Absolutely.
I mean, God pulled us all together. You know, all of us was in the same vicinity, and it was just like, you know, he just pulled us all together, you know, and everything just fell in place just how it's supposed. I can't even really explain. That's how I know it's God. I can't explain it. You know,
Right.
Things are just
Divine intervention.
divine.
All right.
Exactly.
Well, before we get off of here, Tone, I just want to have you tell the audience what your upcoming project is that you're working on, and or you got any shows or anything? And are y'all performing together at any point? Together,
Yeah, most definitely.
putting together some venues or something.
Man, we actually have shout out to Miss Pearl and Black Pearl Creations. That's what me and Miss Mahara met. You know.
Okay.
We have so much coming. We have the Real Business Showcase that's coming up next month. I'm gonna keep you posted on further info on where it's gonna be at. We have a lot of different venues we're gonna be hitting up. You could find us down the Live nightclub. You could find us. You're gonna find us
On
at
which night? I mean, particular night.
we're gonna keep you posted with that info.
Okay.
We
So
got
y'all
a
check
lot
the social
going on.
media.
We
Check
got
the
a lot
social
going
Please
media.
stay up with these young people.
Stay
Please
definitely
up
stay
with them.
post, man. I call it the new revolution.
All right.
You know what
I
I'm
like
saying?
that.
We the new revolution.
I like that.
You know, even including Miss Amanee. You know,
Okay.
everything
That's
she's
what's up.
doing. We the
Through
new
praise and
revolution.
message and through the community. I like that.
Exactly.
I
You
like
know,
that.
I have 3 EPs coming out. One called Truth Be Told, the art of exposing the truth. I have Made Man. I also have Never Seen Me Coming. I have a slew of singles that's about to come. We're also shooting. We got movies also in progress right
Okay.
now too. So stay tuned
They
for
working
that.
hard, y'all.
What's
Come on,
it?
working. I like to see young entrepreneurs.
What's your new?
Definitely.
What, EP?
Yeah.
Releasing an EP titled The Birth of Thoughts. Completely conscious rap, cognitive stuff, like stuff to really make you think. Not only hit your ears, but hit your heart as well.
Please give the link for that, please.
It's not out yet, but it's
Okay.
soon to drop. I'm looking to drop it towards the end of May. If you want to follow me, YP the Prophet on Twitter, YP_the_prophet. I mean, my name's long, but it's worth it, yo. And most definitely, like Google. If you can't find it on Twitter, Google YP the Prophet. Stuff pop up. ESPE, Education Solidifies Profound Excellence. You'll find me.
Miss Marvel, before we get off here, get them a little because you've been a part of a lot of different stuff. Like,
Yes. Well, actually, I'm working on my EP album, and it'll be coming out this summer. It is called The Spirit of Healing. I'm still compiling all of my music together, but basically, it's just a journey of my life, my past thus far, and where I am now. So be on the lookout for that. I am on Instagram. It is my name spelled backwards. Mahara is my first name, but it's ARAHIM_ a star in the making.
the youngest of the crew.
Trey Status, producer. You know, I got an instrumental tape coming out based on it just what's going on now. And me and Tom got something coming out real soon. The time is now.
We have a
What
mixtape
they
coming
find
up on
you
the
at?
time is now.
Instagram, Trey Status, TREYSTATIS. Facebook at DTHEE_Trey Status.
Real business.
Please follow these young people. Please support
You
these
tell
young
them
people.
about your launch tomorrow. You already
We
talked
already,
about that.
we already.
We
missed out. We didn't miss out.
Please support these young people because this
So-
is examples of where we should be at.
Exactly. I just want to thank each and every one of y'all actually for taking the time to come out tonight on the show. And as always, I want to thank all of our listeners here on WLVS Radio at the Entourage Hour. We want to encourage everybody to tune in each and every week from 9 to 10 p.m. on Friday nights. We keep it different each week.
Real
That's
big.
right.
Something
Keep it
different
going,
for
something new.
something new, something
Something
crazy.
for
It's
everybody.
unscripted. Y'all know how we go. So
Right.
does anybody want to give any final shout outs before we get off?
Shout out to my mother. It's her birthday today. Love you,
Happy
my
birthday. Happy B-Day.
Happy birthday!
And make sure y'all check out that new single by Tone Butta and YP the Prophet. Listen to your heart. Make sure y'all. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Damon, any closing words?
No, I have no closing words today. This has been a great panel, and I'm not even gonna go into my little angry segment because these people have me to the point
We're too
where
positive.
I don't think I can even go into my rant that I thought I had to give out.
So
I feel like I'm gonna be slapped in the face with all they brought to the table, the positive energy that's here right now.
what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and have the audience listen to this Dreams to Reality from Tone Butter. So without further ado,
business.
if we can get Dreams to Reality from Tone Butter playing.
Real.
This nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. I have a dream. My
what they have eyes but they can't see. They disregard the truth and they feed into the lies. Just a victim to a system that was made for our demise. Sometimes I wonder why my people just don't even try when we can help our brother live, but we rather see him die. Sad enough we taking shots, getting killed by crooked cops. Rest in peace to Eric Garner, man, this madness got to stop. I quote the words of Dr. King when I say I have a dream that our people will have justice, but that's not the way it seems. I'm just trying to see a change, unity with every race, but we must all come to God and turn from our wicked ways. You can see it ain't no fear, cause I got Christ in my blood. It's a soldier up in here. Devil look me in the face. You can see it ain't no fear, cause I got Christ in my blood. It's a soldier up in here. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. Police brutality, that's my reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. Police brutality, that's my reality. Tell me why the system failed me, because it was designed just to lock me up in jail. Me these lies that they tell me through media, etc. Massive economic destruction in America. Don't judge me by my color, just the content of my character, and let me have my freedom, cause I think that should be fair enough. How can this nation rather live the meaning of its creed when all they cherish is money and they hearts are filled with greed? Tired of seeing my people bleed, wicked riots in the streets. Say you want a Dr. King, but you're not promoting peace. We must call upon the Lord of X and please to heal this land, cause we headed for disaster, but my folks don't understand. We need to come together, cause these times are getting worse. United praying for this nation, cause this nation has been cursed. Remember, all lives matter. Time to stop this brutality. Man, I got a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. Police brutality, that's my reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. I have a dream to turn my dreams into reality. Police brutality, that's my reality. Man, it's time we start taking a stand. It's time that we rise up as a nation and start spreading love throughout our whole nation. Stop hating each other. Stop destroying our own people. Stop breaking each other down. How can we take a stand for what's right if we breaking our own legs? How can we stand up? For one, we gotta look to God, man. We gotta pray to God. We gotta come in a united praise, man. We gotta pray for this nation, man. Our nation is cursed. So many people have been slaughtered and died, and so much blood has been spilled on this nation, man. We living in the modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. The only way this land can be healed is if we turn to God. For even God's word says, love your neighbor as yourself, and there is no commandment greater than these. Listen, man, times is getting worse, man. It ain't no time to keep playing games, man, for real. You claim you honor Dr. Martin Luther King, man, but you're not promoting peace. How you screaming no justice and no peace, but you looking for justice, man? Real business. The time is now. I have a dream that one day my people will come together and stop sleepwalking and wake up and be the bold conquerors that I know we could be. Let's look to Christ, man.
With the medical examiner's determination that Mr. Gray's death was a homicide, which we received today, has led us to believe that we have probable cause to file criminal charges. The statement of probable cause is as follows. On April 12, 2015, between 8:45 and 9:15 a.m., near the corner of North Avenue and Mount Street, Lieutenant Brian Rice of the Baltimore Police Department, while on bike patrol with officers Garrett Miller and Edward Nero, made eye contact with Mr. Freddie Carlos Gray, Jr. Having made eye contact with Mr. Gray subsequently ran from Lieutenant Rice. Lieutenant Rice then dispatched over departmental radio that he was involved in a foot pursuit, at which time bike patrol officers Miller and Narrow also began to pursue Mr. Gray. Having come in contact with the pursuing officers, Mr. Gray surrendered to Officers Miller and Narrow in the vicinity of the 1700 block of Pressbury Street. Officers Miller and Narrow then handcuffed Mr. Gray and moved him to a location a few feet away from his surrendering location. Mr. Gray was then placed in a prone position with his arms handcuffed behind his back. It was at this time that Mr. Gray indicated that he could not breathe and requested an inhaler to no avail. Officers Miller and Narrow then placed Mr. Gray in a seated position and subsequently found a knife clipped to the inside of his pants pocket. The blade of the knife was folded into the handle. The knife was not a switchblade and is lawful under Maryland law. These officers subsequently removed the knife and placed it on the sidewalk. Mr. Gray was then placed back down on his stomach, at which time Mr. Gray began to flail his legs and scream as Officer Miller placed Mr. Gray in a restraining technique known as a leg lace, while Officer Narrow physically held him down against his will until a BPD wagon arrived to transport Mr. Gray. Lieutenant Rice, Officer Miller, and Officer Narrow failed to establish probable cause for Mr. Gray's arrest as no crime had been committed by Mr. Gray. Accordingly, Lieutenant Rice, Officer Miller, and Officer Narrow illegally arrested Mr. Gray. Upon arrival of the transport wagon driven by Officer Caesar Goodson, Lieutenant Rice, Officer Narrow, and Officer Miller loaded Mr. Gray into the wagon, and at no point was he secured by a seatbelt while in the wagon, contrary to a BPD general order. Lieutenant Rice then directed BPD wagon to stop at Baker Street. At Baker Street, Lieutenant Rice, Officer Narrow, and Officer Miller removed Mr. Gray from the wagon, placed flex cuffs on his wrists, placed leg shackles on his ankles, and completed required paperwork. Officer Miller, Officer Narrow, and Lieutenant Rice then loaded Mr. Gray back into the wagon, placing him on his stomach, head first onto the floor of the wagon. Once again, Mr. Gray was not secured by a seatbelt in the wagon, contrary to a BPD general order. Lieutenant Rice then directed Officer Goodson to transport Mr. Gray to the Central Booking and Intake Facility. Following transport from Baker Street, Mr. Gray suffered